20 of the worst epidemics and pandemics in history Part 1.
Plagues and epidemics have ravaged humanity throughout its existence, often changing the course of history. Throughout the course of history, disease outbreaks have ravaged humanity, sometimes changing the course of history and, at times, signaling the end of entire civilizations. Here are 20 of the worst epidemics and pandemics, dating from prehistoric to modern times. 1. Prehistoric epidemic, circa 3000 BC. About 5,000 years ago, an epidemic wiped out a prehistoric village in China. The bodies of the dead were stuffed inside a house that was later burned down. No age group was spared, as the skeletons of juveniles, young adults and middle-aged people were found inside the house. The archaeological site is now called Hameen Manga, and is one of the best preserved prehistoric sites in northeastern China. Archaeological and anthropological study indicates that the epidemic happened quickly enough that there was no time for proper burials, and the site was not inhabited again. Before the discovery of Hameen Manga, another prehistoric mass burial that dates to roughly the same time period was found at a site called Miaozigo, in northeastern China. Together, these discoveries suggest that an epidemic ravaged the entire region. 2. Plague of Athens, 430 BC. Around 430 BC, not long after a war between Athens and Sparta began, an epidemic ravaged the people of Athens and lasted for 5 years. Some estimates put the death toll as high as 100,000 people. The Greek historian Thucydides 460–400 BC wrote that, people in good health were all of a sudden attacked by violent heats in the head, and redness and inflammation in the eyes, the inward parts, such as the throat or tongue, becoming bloody and emitting an unnatural and fetid breath. Translation by Richard Crawley from the book, The History of the Peloponnesian War, London Dent, 1914. What exactly this epidemic was has long been a source of debate among scientists. A number of diseases have been put forward as possibilities, including typhoid fever and Ebola. Many scholars believe that overcrowding caused by the war exacerbated the epidemic. Sparta's army was stronger, forcing the Athenians to take refuge behind a series of fortifications called the Long Walls, that protected their city. Despite the epidemic, the war continued on, not ending until 404 BC, when Athens was forced to capitulate to Sparta. 3. Antonin Plague, AD 165–180. When soldiers returned to the Roman Empire from campaigning, they brought back more than the spoils of victory. The Antonin Plague, which may have been smallpox, laid waste to the army and may have killed over 5 million people in the Roman Empire, wrote April Pudsey, a senior lecturer in Roman history at Manchester Metropolitan University, in a paper published in the book, Disability in Antiquity, Routledge, 2017. Many historians believe that the epidemic was first brought into the Roman Empire by soldiers returning home after a war against Parthia. The epidemic contributed to the end of the Pax Romana, the Roman peace, a period from 27 BC to AD 180, when Rome was at the height of its power. After AD 180, instability grew throughout the Roman Empire, as it experienced more civil wars and invasions by barbarian groups. Christianity became increasingly popular in the time after the plague occurred. 4. Plague of Cyprian, AD 250–271. Named after Saint Cyprian, a bishop of Carthage, a city in Tunisia, who described the epidemic as signaling the end of the world, the plague of Cyprian is estimated to have killed 5,000 people a day in Rome alone. In 2014, archaeologists in Luxor found what appears to be a mass burial site of plague victims. Their bodies were covered with a thick layer of lime, historically used as a disinfectant. Archaeologists found 3 kilns used to manufacture lime and the remains of plague victims burned in a giant bonfire. Experts aren't sure what disease caused the epidemic. The bowels, relaxed into a constant flux, discharge the bodily strength, and a fire originated in the marrow ferments into wounds of the fauces, an area of the mouth. Cyprian wrote in Latin in a work called De Mortalitate, translation by Philip Schaff from the book, Fathers of the 3rd Century. Hippolytus, Cyprian, Keys, Novatian, Appendix, Christian Classics Ethereal Library, 1885. 5. Plague of Justinian, AD 541–542. The Byzantine Empire was ravaged by the bubonic plague, which marked the start of its decline. The plague reoccurred periodically afterward. Some estimates suggest that up to 10% of the world's population died. The plague is named after the Byzantine Emperor Justinian, reigned AD 527 to 565. Under his reign, the Byzantine Empire reached its greatest extent, controlling territory that stretched from the Middle East to Western Europe. Justinian constructed a great cathedral known as Hagia Sophia, Holy Wisdom, in Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, the empire's capital. Justinian also got sick with the plague and survived. However, his empire gradually lost territory in the time after the plague struck.